This is a regular meeting. Sir, be seated. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect that Commissioners Suthers, Shields, Garcia, Sanchez, Gordon are present, and we have a quorum. Mr. President?
Thank you. We welcome everyone attending this morning. The Police Commission is committed to ensuring equal access to its meetings. It is requested that individuals who require the services of a translator contact the Board Secretary no later than the day preceding the meeting. Whenever possible, a translator will be provided. Sign language interpreters, assistive listening devices, or other auxiliary aids and/or services may be provided upon request. To ensure availability, you are advised to make your request at least 72 hours prior to the meeting you wish to attend. All public comment will be heard during item number 2 on the agenda. We will dedicate a total of 45 minutes to public comment. Members of the public will have 1 minute per agenda item for a maximum of 2 minutes total. At the request of the speaker will be given 1 additional minute for a general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total. Members of the public, if you choose to participate in the public comment portion of the agenda, you can participate in this meeting in a number of ways outlined on the agenda. Members of the public who participate in public comment are reminded that they can speak to any item on the agenda or a matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board, so you are free to express your opinion on matters before the board and to generally express when you disagree with other opinions expressed. However, directing your comments to other individuals who have spoken or attacking others who have expressed their opinion shall be deemed off topic, and your public comment period will be concluded. Message for those attending the meeting in person: these meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the Board of Police Commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph M. Brown Act affords the public the opportunity to be present at the meetings, hear the presentations and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via the public comment period. During these meetings, there's a need for the board to carry out the public business expeditiously without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience shall not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will be cause for removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you will be provided with only 1 warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure to follow this rule will result in a warning and/or removal from the meeting. With that, we will move to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police. Chief McDonald.
Good morning, President Suthers, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Inspector General Barragan, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Mr. Sibley. Today I'll discuss significant events from the previous week, provide a crime update, and discuss our personnel strength. Last week we put out a chief's notice on immigration enforcement actions, and I'll just briefly go over that. In light of the ongoing ICE immigration enforcement actions occurring throughout the region, the department has taken proactive steps to clarify our role and to ensure the safety of all involved. We recently issued an Office of the Chief of Police notice dated June 27, 2025, to all department personnel outlining expectations and responsibilities when responding to scenes involving potential federal immigration enforcement. The guidance reinforces the following key points: immediate supervisor notification. Officers responding to calls involving possible federal immigration enforcement are required to request a supervisor if one has not already been dispatched by our communications division. As far as verification and accountability, if officers encounter individuals engaged in enforcement actions who are not clearly identifiable as local, state, or federal law enforcement, they are directed to verify credentials with the on-scene supervisor or the federal agent in charge. This verification must be captured on body-worn video to ensure transparency and accountability. As far as impersonation protocols, if it's determined that an individual is not a legitimate federal enforcement officer, officers are instructed to take appropriate enforcement action, which may include detaining or arresting the individual for impersonating a peace officer consistent with department policy and applicable law. Our role is strictly limited. Once it's confirmed that the scene involves a federal enforcement action, the role of the LAPD personnel is strictly limited to maintaining public safety. This includes creating tactical separation between the parties, maintaining a safe perimeter, directing pedestrian and vehicular traffic if necessary, and most importantly, ensuring that no one gets hurt. We understand that public perception can be sensitive during these operations. Some may see our presence as cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. However, our officers are being reminded and are actively communicating on scene that their presence is solely to prevent injury, de-escalate tension, and protect lives. To further clarify the department's position and promote transparency, we also published an updated Immigration Frequently Asked Questions document. This resource is readily available to the public and outlines in clear terms that the LAPD does not participate in immigration enforcement and does not initiate contact based on immigration status. The FAQ explains our responsibilities and legal boundaries and reaffirms our commitment to all Los Angeles communities, regardless of immigration status. We had an officer-involved shooting in Rampart on June 28, 2025, at approximately 22:50 hours. Newton Gang Enforcement Detail uniformed officers were in the area of Avalon Boulevard and 42nd Place when they observed the suspect, later identified as Ismael Hernandez, walking in the roadway armed with a handgun. As officers drove toward Hernandez, he raised the handgun and discharged 2 rounds, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. Hernandez was struck by gunfire and fell to the pavement. Officers rendered aid to Hernandez until the arrival of Los Angeles Fire Department, who transported him to a local hospital where he remains in stable condition. A victim who was involved in a physical altercation with Hernandez prior to the OIS was treated at scene by LAFD personnel for a minor injury. Force Investigation Division investigators determined Hernandez had threatened that victim and fired a handgun in his presence at the onset of the incident. No officers or other community members were injured during this incident, and a blue steel Rossi .38 special revolver was recovered at scene and booked as evidence. The cylinder of the revolver contained 5 spent cartridge cases. Force Investigation Division investigators responded to the scene and are investigating the incident. For context, year-to-date, we've had 21 officer-involved shootings compared to 16 this time last year. On the burglary front, on June 26th at approximately 3:30 in the afternoon, LA Impact surveillance units were tracking suspects believed to be involved in a recent commercial burglary series. The suspects were traveling in a white BMW that had been cold-plated to conceal its identity. A second vehicle, a silver Audi, was also observed in tandem, believed to be acting as a follow car. Surveillance units followed the BMW into West Los Angeles area, where it was observed pulling into a driveway in the 1900 block of Mandeville Canyon Road. 2 suspects got out of the vehicle and jumped the fence into a private residence. Overheard surveillance confirmed the suspects made entry into the home and burglarized the property. The suspects were then seen leaving the residence carrying stolen items, re-entered the BMW. LA Impact officers continued monitoring while simultaneously broadcasting real-time updates to LAPD units. Once LAPD units arrived and joined in the following, the suspects fled at a high rate of speed, and the officers initiated a short pursuit. The pursuit concluded in the city of Santa Monica when the BMW collided with a tree. 2 suspects fled on foot and were quickly apprehended by officers. The driver of the silver Audi was also stopped and taken into custody. Stolen property was recovered from the BMW and both vehicles were impounded. All 3 suspects, each with prior arrests for burglary, receiving stolen property, firearm possession, and narcotic offenses, were booked for burglary. As of the week ending June 28th, our citywide crime analysis shows that overall crime continues to trend downward in key areas. Comparing the 4-week period from the June 1st to the 28th, compared to the prior 4-week period in May, we've seen an 8% overall reduction in combined person and property crimes, which is about 641 fewer reported offenses. Breaking that down further, persons crimes have seen a slight increase of 1.6%, while property crimes have declined significantly by 11%. Focusing on homicides year-to-date, the city's experienced just under 30% reduction compared to the same period last year. When looking at victims shot citywide, we're seeing a year-to-year decrease of 12.5%. And turning to specific crime categories, aggravated assaults have risen slightly, up 3.3%. Robberies have decreased by 3%. Burglaries have shown the most notable drop, down by 11.5%. Within that, residential burglaries are down 13.8%, and non-residential burglaries are down 8.1%. Motor vehicle theft has also shown improvement, decreasing by 3.3% over the 4-week period compared to the prior month. As far as our personnel strength, currently have 8,739 sworn personnel, 2,650 civilian professional staff, and 355 reserve officers. That concludes my report to the commission this morning, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for the June 27th directive on response to incidents involving federal immigration enforcement actions. Commissioner Garcia and I had a very productive meeting yesterday with a number of council members, and federal immigration enforcement was a topic that consumed most of that meeting. They were particularly concerned with LAPD responses for help calls, and I'm really happy to see here now that we will have a supervisor on scene for all of those incidents, and that supervisor's responsibilities you've already laid out, so we're looking forward to that. So to the extent possible, we can mitigate any unfortunate incidents happening out there between our agencies and, of course, between the agencies and the public that they're out there serving. I don't have any other questions. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to my fellow commissioners, and I'm going to start with Vice President Shields. Vice President Shields.
Thank you. And Chief, I'll just reiterate President Souther's statements about the proactive attempts that you and the department have tried to take to clarify the role of the department. And you talked about kind of the impersonation protocols. Have you spoken with our law enforcement, the prosecution folks that we have, the city attorney's office, the district attorney's office, to ensure that any person impersonating law enforcement of any kind is prosecuted to the fullest extent?
Yeah, we've been working closely with the city attorney, the district attorney, and the U.S. attorney as far as prosecution of cases overall, and they are all very good partners in trying to be able to hold people accountable to the degree that's appropriate for all of these type of cases and others.
And has the department come across scenes where they truly did not know whether there was lawful federal agents on scene, or were really concerned about impersonators?
I think to my awareness, the officers, when they respond to the scenes of the ones we've been there, once they get there, they determine, based on their observations, that there are federal enforcement officers doing their work. But understandably, in the eye of the public, who may not be aware of the nuances, the emergency lights on the cars, the type of body armor, tactical attire worn, where to look for badges and other identifiers, the public understandably would not be aware of those things, and certainly a cause for great anxiety.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Good morning. Thank you, Chief. Similar to President Souther's comments, thank you for that directive, and looking forward to seeing how it works out with the supervisor being there, and to your point, ensuring that we are properly identifying the individuals who are masked or unmasked, who are detaining folks, and then looking forward to the data collected or some kind of a report, so that the community sees what the actual verification is looking like, and the rate at which we are positively verifying who those folks are.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Yes, good morning, Chief. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I do have a follow-up question regarding this attire that is worn by these folks that are supposedly impersonating a federal law enforcement officer. And when LAPD goes there and tries to verify, who are these people, you talk about they were able to determine from their attire that, in fact, they are true federal law enforcement agents. So what is that? What is that clue? What is that attire that is a telltale that, oh yeah, these are the real thing? Because I think our community needs to know that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be limited to attire. It'd be kind of a comprehensive picture of what they see when they get there, the vehicles in the street, the type of vehicles equipped with legitimate emergency lighting and sirens, so forth. And then if they're wearing a vest, does the vest have a badge on it from ICE or HSI or some of the other border patrol? And then does the officer identify themselves by showing a badge or by doing something that would give them a comfort that, you know, while the concern was legitimate from the community as to who these people were, the officers have satisfied that it's part of the ongoing ICE enforcement efforts. And so it's not something I would identify as any individual piece of equipment or vehicle or anything. It's kind of the whole picture when they get there and plus what they're told by the individuals at scene.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Commissioner. We'll now move on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Madam Secretary, please announce the first speaker.
We have Steve Rosenberger.
Is this on? I'm Steve Rosenberger. I'm here today because I've lived in New York, Boston, San Francisco, and I've lived in LA for the last 15 years. And in the past month, I have never experienced a wider divide between a police force and the citizens of its city. And I came here because I wanted to get a sense of what your perspective is on this, because from the perspective of people who live in LA, things are completely out of control. There are hundreds of videos online that citizens take with their cameras of these masked, armed, unidentified individuals tackling them in the middle of the street, blowing doors off houses. And there is never law enforcement present, because like us, you don't know where these clowns are going to pop up. So in the instances where there are police visible, like you said, they're there to direct traffic around the often violent abduction of people. They do not identify themselves in any way. These are kidnappings. That's what it feels like. It feels like we are living in one of those countries that none of us ever want to go to, where secret police are just dragging people off the street into vans, and God knows where they took them. And that is what's happening. So, Chief McDonnell, you spoke about transparency. When the LAPD does encounter someone who is not readily identifiable by their uniform, whatever, as authentic federal agents, you have to go through the process of identifying them on camera. Is that what you said? Body camera? Okay, has that ever happened? Wow. Has that ever happened? Because if it did, you'd be doing the police force a favor by making that public, by showing that you're actually doing that process. But none of us have ever seen that happen. And I believe one of the commissioners asked you how many times the police have done that, and you didn't answer. So, you know, what we can see, and in your response, it seems that you are completely disregarding the threat to the public, and protecting people that are, if the police did what they're doing 2 months ago, you would be arresting the police officers.
Okay. Thank you.
Who's this guy? He gets to ask questions and be answered and go over time.
Ma'am.
Not
Oh, ma'am, I'm the chair. I will
Anyway.
direct any comments to him. You will desist or you will leave.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
I appreciate
Thank
the
you, sir.
time. I just want to impress upon you guys that
Sir, your public comment has concluded. Thank you.
please do something.
Next, we have Rex B. on Zoom. Rex, you're on.
Okay. I'm going to speak to all items.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay. So starting off with the chief's report.
Sir, be
The chief's
seated.
report should be
Excuse me,
limited to a
sir,
maximum
online.
of
I'm
3 minutes
sorry.
at every meeting.
Gentlemen
If the
with the
chief's report
cameras, sit
exceeds 3
down.
minutes.
You're disrupting the meeting. This is your first and last warning. Put the finger down or you will be removed from the room. Sorry, sir, you may continue.
Yeah, just remove all your critics. That's how this works, it seems here. Yeah, but the chief's report should be limited to 3 minutes. If it exceeds 3 minutes, we should match the amount of time the chief takes. Everyone should be able to speak both in person and on the phone, regardless of how long the chief takes to give his report. So you talked a lot about today about how the LAPD responds to immigration raids, and it's all lies. Every time the LAPD responds, the LAPD shows up. The LAPD protects protects ICE, brutalizes protesters. That's what happens every time the LAPD responds, and this directive is not going to change that. This whole well, we're gonna have a supervisor now. That's gonna stop everything. Yeah, no, it's not. The supervisor's just gonna lead the brutalizing protesters and assisting ICE and protecting them from protesters and everything. That's what the LAPD does when they respond to calls about ICE being somewhere. So yeah. All right, let's go on. Let's see. So we have the consent agenda. We do have a few items on the consent agenda today. We got a grant for forensic sciences for more expansion of the police state. You have a donation of $20,000 for the community safety partnership, where you're going to make it feel like that, oh, this is a community effort or something. And it's just more cops in the community. That's all it is. Brutalizing everyone. We have $300 donation for the property room at the southeast area. That's a bit much. $5,000 for wellness for the Central Bureau. Nothing buys wellness like $5,000. $11,000 for the LAPD hockey team. Why does the LAPD have a hockey team? Like, what's that for? So you can practice being brutal towards people? I don't know. We have $4,900 for equipment. No on that. $12,000 for special event training and special events in the Northeast area. Okay, so you have the election of officers. Does that mean you're finally no longer going to be president, Errol? Is it this period finally over? Thank gosh. I'm guessing Rasha's your front runner for president, probably. I have no idea who you're considering for vice. You said about that. Rasha, maybe slight improvement, but it's not going to be much change. You're still going to be enabling the LAPD, doing nothing to hold them accountable for anything. That's what you do. It's what you do here at Police Commission.
Next, we have Jan Williams. Okay, Michael Williams.
It is just so disingenuous, this idea that LAPD is not working with ICE or not cooperating with ICE. Last Monday, there was viral video that went across the country of LAPD stopping people from simply filming ICE arresting someone, kidnapping someone in broad daylight in the middle of downtown, forming a line to protect the kidnappers from being filmed. No one was trying to physically intervene. No one was trying to pull the woman away from them. They were simply trying to film them. A couple of days before that, LAPD arrested a member of the press, a photojournalist, who was trying to document ICE kidnapping people, for simply trying to document ICE kidnapping people. The gag is, the video that happened on last Monday, come to find out, that individual that was being kidnapped was a U.S. citizen. But LAPD didn't bother to ask ICE whether they had a warrant for her, whether they had asked for her ID. They did nothing but allow ICE to kidnap a U.S. citizen. Then, on the other hand, you have a report that just came out by Cal Matters that exposed that LAPD has been giving license plate reader information to ICE. Not only have they been giving license plate reader information to ICE, but they have been doing searches for license plate information on the request from ICE. This is something that Cal Matters exposed. So I would like this commission to ask, because I can't ask him, or maybe he will. Maybe he answers someone else, so maybe he'll answer me. Is LAPD continuing the practice of giving license plate information to ICE? Are they continuing to do searches for license plate information on behalf of ICE? Is that continuing to go on? Because you can sit here and say, well, we're not arresting anybody, we're not detaining any of the immigrants, but when you're giving information to ICE, when you are allowing ICE to kidnap people illegally in front of you, then you are participating and cooperating with ICE. You are participating and aiding and abetting these kidnappings of our community members. And you can sit up here and lie to people, but the truth is coming out. The truth is being exposed about LAPD. And the divide between you and the community is growing bigger and bigger every single day.
Next, we have Mona M. Mona M.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
All items, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I would like, good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, President Suthers. I appreciate the time to be able to speak with you. I would like to continue on with speaking about the relationship between the LAPD, the Commissioners, and the Church of Scientology, and how that relationship and the perceived relationship is certainly making an effect on those that need to report the crimes that have been committed against them, not only blatant crimes of sex trafficking, labor trafficking. I'm sorry, my dog's drinking in the background, excuse it. But also just the human right violations and the civil right violations that are happening. And they're unfortunately not able to, or feel that they're not able to report and come to you because of that perceived relationship. There's also the task force, the initiative for the faith-based folks to come together to talk about the hate crimes and the issues. We've asked for it before, but we would like to have a list of the members of that initiative, so that way we can see who's on there and what voices are on there, or maybe even be a part of it. We would love to be a part of that, because we certainly aren't, as protesters and demonstrators, we're not hate crimes. We're not people speaking hate. We're speaking love. We're speaking love for the children and for the elderly that are being abused in that false religion. So if you would give us the members, or let us be a part of the initiative for the faith-based project, that would be a wonderful thing, and that is an action item, please. Please and thank you. I yield back my time.
Next, we have Paul Feldine.
Hi, I guess all items. I've lived, worked, and raised children in LA for more than 40 years, and I've never appeared before the police commission before, never attended one of your meetings. But then again, I've never seen a situation like there's been in the past couple months where masked, heavily armed men who refuse to identify themselves are placing the city in a state of fear and terror and appear to be clearly using racial profiling without warrants in many cases apparently, to threaten, harass, and detain people with brown skin. Anyone can wear a generic patch that says police, as we see on some of these videos. All it takes is $10 at Supply Sergeant to get you the type of police patch that one sees repeatedly in these kind of videos from the streets of LA and beyond. I'm glad that you explained, Chief, what you say this police department is doing. I hope it is a reality and it makes a difference, because I think I do strongly support the LAPD monitoring, policing, and stopping anyone conducting dubious or illegal disappearances. We've seen what happened in Minnesota when someone impersonated a police officer and killed an elected official, her husband, and their dog. We just, don't want things like this to happen anywhere, but particularly in our city. And if this is allowed to continue, it's really unclear. I mean, who knows who these masked men will come for next? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Steve Riley.
Good morning.
Steve.
Hello?
Oh, hi. What items would you like to speak on?
All items, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm hearing a false narrative today about targeted enforcement actions by federal agents being called kidnapping. That is not kidnapping. Those are arrests. Now, you might not want those arrests to occur, but ICE and federal agents are enforcing the law. They are doing their job. Federal, state, and local law enforcement should be working together to enforce the law and improve public safety. That's
Excuse
what
me,
should.
Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry. With the mask on, you've had your 3 minutes. Allow this gentleman to have his 3 minutes, or I will remove you from the room. This is your first and last warning. I will decide if he's violating the rule. Thank you. Mr. Riley, please continue.
Thank you, President Suthers. I appreciate that. So, law enforcement should be working together. Chief McDonald is
Excuse me, sir. Sir, you now may leave the room. Please leave the room. I'm ordering you out of the room. I'm ordering you out of the room. You're disrupting the meeting. I'm ordering you out of the room. You are disrupting the meeting. I'm ordering you out of the room. You're disrupting the meeting. Sergeant at Arms, please remove this gentleman from the room. The caller may continue with his comments. Apologies for the interruption.
Thank you, President Suthers. Just based on what I saw, and I've asked for this before, people who disrupt a meeting, which is a misdemeanor that is occurring in the presence of the chief of police, the police commission, and LAPD personnel, should be placed under arrest for disrupting a meeting. It is a misdemeanor crime, and I think that's what should happen. Now that I've been interrupted twice, I'm trying to get back on my topic. Chief McDonald gave a great description of the LAPD role as it relates to what's going on in the city of Los Angeles when ICE operations are encountered. However, someone that impersonates a police officer should be arrested, or an agent. There should be no discretion on that. I'm not sure if I heard right, but may be arrested. It should be arrested. Okay, that's a serious crime. There are serious crimes have been committed by people impersonating police officers. Now, for Judge Sanchez Gordon, here's a lesson for you. It's not just attire, it's the actions. Many times law enforcement professionals, like the LAPD, can tell by the actions of others who they presume are police officers or federal agents. They can tell by their actions what they are doing. Is it the location, the time of day? We're not talking about a person in the middle of the night preying on people and committing crimes. These are broad daylight actions many times in public places, and you see what the agents are doing. You have to use common sense. Now, getting to Sergeant Deng, last week I asked for a moment of silence and the unknown for him and an unknown civilian. The civilian who also lost his life, condolences to his family, is named Jesus Garcia. He had what was described as a solo accident, and I'd like to get more information on that. If we can get a report from CHP on the results of the investigation or from Chief McDonald. A solo accident, what was the status of the driver? Sober or DUI? Licensed or unlicensed? Legal or illegal? These things matter. There's an LAPD sergeant dead, and I could go into further detail, but I don't have a lot of time. But I'm asking for you to care enough to ask those questions. The media sometimes does not ask the right questions. God bless the LAPD. God save Los Angeles.
Next, we have Iris Schneider.
Hello. I've never appeared before this commission before, and I'm glad to hear that you're trying to identify these people, these masked men who are kidnapping and accosting and physically attacking our neighbors and our residents. I wrote a statement, but it's nothing you haven't already heard, but I don't recognize my city or my country when I see packs of masked men carrying high-powered weapons, providing no identification, pulling up in unmarked cars and vans in broad daylight, targeting unsuspecting people, people crossing the street, people working, people appearing for their immigration hearings. And of course, Latinos, targeting them because of what they look like, not what they've done, not if they're doing illegal activities, based on their color, which is illegal, racial profiling, and forcibly hauling them away to an uncertain fate. They can't talk to their lawyers. They can't tell their families where they are. There's no due process. They're just whisked away and disappeared. Reputable news reports and the mayor herself have spoken about gardeners, pedestrians, nannies taking care of children. The children are taken away and put into taken away to legislators to wait for their parents to show up. Car wash employees, people heading to their immigration hearings, being illegally threatened, physically attacked, and disappeared. And these people who are doing this do not identify themselves. You're police officers. When you do something with the public, when you interact with the public, you do not wear masks. You show your badges. You show your names. These people do not behave that way. They are not behaving in a professional manner. As the commission for the agency whose mission is to protect and serve, I ask that you step up and protect and serve Los Angeles residents. The unprofessional behavior of these men is endangering everyone, and they should not be permitted to rampage on our streets, terrorize and kidnap our neighbors. This behavior is unconscionable. It should not be allowed to continue. And you say that they are doing their job and arresting people. Who are these people? I'm not sure they're officers at all. They could be bounty hunters for all we know, being paid for each person that they arrest. This behavior does not say to me, these are professional law officers. And you would have to agree, I think, that this is not the way law enforcement should look. And it's dangerous for all of our citizens, and it's upsetting to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Defend the LAPD.
Good morning. All items, please.
3 minutes.
Thank you. Rasha, Teresa, and Chief, please stop acting as though officer impersonation is a thing. It's not. You all know damn well they are federal agents, and so does the public. and they're enforcing our country's laws. Mayor Bass appointed and controls all of you, and the department no longer operates independently. It follows politics, not law. You are violating your legal duties and your oath to protect the public. Your pattern of selectively enforcing laws, refusing to disperse illegal protests, stalling arrest decisions for hours while officers are assaulted, and choosing not to act unless it is politically safe violates California Government Code Section 1222, defining willful neglect of duty as criminal offense. More importantly, it violates the Constitution. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment prohibits the government from protecting some groups and abandoning others based on politics. The chief's refusal to act when lives and businesses are in danger simply because enforcement may upset the mayor or her allies is just not weak leadership. It denies residents their constitutional right to safety in a department that serves the law, not politicians. City Council is promoting a hotline that tips off illegals, nonprofits that help individuals evade immigration enforcement, and issuing public warnings about ICE activity. This city is actively aiding and abetting federal law violations. Mayor Bass, City Council members, the city attorney, and the city controller are complicit. Under Title 8, Section 1324 of the U.S. Code, it is a felony to knowingly harbor or shield illegal aliens from detection. These officials are using public resources to obstruct justice. I briefed General Pam Bondi's chief of staff about this direct interference, and I will continue urging federal action. Let's talk about the public guide you released, written by Arif. It failed to explain that immigration enforcement is civil, not criminal. It failed to clarify that ICE doesn't need a warrant, that due process rights don't apply the same way, or that agents don't need to show ID. The directive to officers was worse. You told them to take bogus kidnapping reports seriously, but gave no instruction to 911 operators to ask callers whether suspects had markings of federal agents. That creates dangerous confusion and puts officers and federal agents at risk of blue-on-blue confrontation. How many times have we heard your own officers say, our hands are tied because the mayor and chief are preventing them from making arrests, enforcing immigration holds, clearing encampments, or rescuing animals neglected or abused by homeless, or shutting down violent protests? That is a violation of the Constitution, including the Equal Protection Supremacy Clauses, which prohibit interference with federal law. You are not allowing this department to do its job, and everyone on this commission is complicit. Also, FYI, the clown in the black t-shirt with the fan was holding up a sign that says cunt towards the camera, and I agree with the other caller. You got to flush these people out of the meetings. They're really disturbing. Thank you.
Next, we have Audit LA.
Sorry, having a little bit of asthma this morning.
Officer, I believe we have a mic here that we can extend as well. Is it not here today? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I want to continue on with, I want all items, by the way, but to continue on with what Mona was saying about how we have a bunch of victims of Scientology who are adults now. They, spent their childhood being horribly abused, and they want to come forward. People want to come forward. But the fact that Scientology has so much inroad in with your CPABs that it is intimidating. And I can attest to that. I've never been in Scientology. I'm just here being a voice to help those who either don't realize they have a voice yet, or they're afraid to speak, or they are speaking and they just need somebody by their side. I'm here for all of them. And it's costing me. I am being what they call fair gamed. I am being harassed. I have them coming to my, where I live, interrogating my neighbors, saying bad things against me to my neighbors, which is, and stupid stuff like lies. But it's just intimidate. They are sending detectives, they are following, they're doing, calling family, just all kinds of stuff. They've been known to kill pets. They better never even ever come through my door. I'm just saying that. So I asked, there's a person who was a former Scientologist in it for 30 years, out for 25. She gave me advice. She said, you need to ask for one officer that will document everything as you everything up till now, and then as you proceed. So everything's in one file. I don't know how to do that. She does that with her police department, which I believe is Burbank. So I'm here to ask the chief if that is possible with LAPD, if I can please have one officer with one file that I can document everything that's happening. I am in fear for my life at this point. I and I know it's, you know, I'm sure it's under the directions of Kendrick Moxon and Kirsten Peterson, and they are doing other things, you know, behind the scenes as well. They're harassing my former neighborhood council. They are doing all kinds of stuff. And I get they don't like that I'm speaking up against them, but I'm going to continue to speak up against them. And their behaviors are just absolutely proof why I need to speak up, why we all do. But the fact that they can sit on your CPAB just makes me feel further unsafe. And I'm not somebody who was abused by them and have all their, you know, their real internal dirty secrets. So I can't imagine what they go through. But just speaking up, I'm going through enough. And I don't like the fact that they have so much, they can bend your ear, like not here, they don't have to come to public meetings, they can just go to your internal CPAD meetings and really have, you know, the captains. And so, Chief, I'm really asking you, I'm begging you to really look into it, to really consider it. I know you have a lot on your plate right now, but the stuff's important, and I thank you.
Next, we have Haiti Marini.
So there's a couple new faces in the audience here, and I want to make sure that they get the story, continuing on this theme of Scientology, right? And I want to get a very specific case. I know the commission's learning about these cases, but I'm going to give you a brand new one. It's actually not the one I've mentioned before. I have on a recorded voicemail a high-ranking LAPD officer educated me on what happened internally to an incident dating May 7th, 2024, of a Scientology agent and a child predator at that who was harassing protesters on Fountain Avenue at 4820 with a machete. And probably the most heinous thing this person had done on that day was commit indecent exposure and attempt to sexually assault a minor who has been repeatedly targeted by Scientology for quite a while now. A minor that this board knows very well. People talked about it before repeatedly. This minor has actually gotten a restraining order against somebody who absolutely is an agent of Scientology and has been so for many years now. A man by the name of Anthony Diamato, very well known as constantly harassing people, happened to win a restraining order against this man for some of the fair gaming tactics that Audit LA was mentioning. But what happened on May 7th is that this man, who was figuratively known as Wendell, came in with a machete. And I know he's an agent because his property was seen on a gated, privately owned Scientology property just off of L. Ron Hubbard Way 2 days after, May 9th, 2024. And video footage was taken of this man trying to attack activists, vigorously masturbating in front of a minor child in public, broad daylight. This could have been maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock on a middle of the day Wednesday. And what happened is the following. The video was shown. PPAs were demanded of the officers. They refused to make any sort of arrest. They did not apprehend this officer, but it didn't stop there. I know for a fact, okay, for an absolute fact, that the reason why, and the responding officers were all from Northeast, because it's always Northeast Division, not just them, but particularly Northeast. Okay, in Northeast, they said the following. Well, because he did it, and it meaning the attempted a sexual assault on the minor and the clear attempted assault on all the activists swinging a large machete, because he was next to a tree, meaning when he was vigorously masturbating in front of the minor, because he was next to a tree, it doesn't count. So if you're a Scientologist, right, you can get away with jacking off in front of a kid. It's proven. It's fact. And your high-ranking officers tell me this. And they're not the only snitch in here. I have so many others. But this is what Scientology does, right? If you're a Scientologist and you hide behind the religious veil, you can absolutely, without consequence, sexually harass children. You absolutely will get away with it. And damn shame on the LAPD. It's not the first time I'm talking about this. But look it up.
Thank you.
And sir, if you have that type of evidence, please contact the Inspector General's office instead of just coming here and saying it. Thank you.
Next, we have DOA.
Good morning, Chief. Talking about a body-worn camera, I really wish that your employee right there have a body-worn camera because I don't understand why she keep messing up with the order of the speaker card. I'm the first one giving to the officer, first one to get into this room, and always end up last to speak. I don't understand why. I wish she had some body-worn camera right there. Second of all, I'm here to talk about the freeway. The other day, my ex-girlfriend, Big Amy, is from New York, was visiting me over the weekend. And then her car engine immediately almost shut down in the middle of the freeway. And then, I was advising her, just call 911. Maybe you'll get a LAPD, you'll get a CHP or something like that. And then that's when the problem occurs. I'm from the upstate New York. So in our highway and in many other states, the highway, they have something called a mile marker. So you can clearly, notify the dispatcher, I am on 45 miles on the, 210 freeway east, whatever. So the dispatcher are immediately knowing that where is your location and where do they send the LAPD officers to. But my friend Big Amy was saying that she does not see any mile marker on the freeway. She does not see any sign in that particular area. The only thing she see is like if you got injured, call Jacob Mayers. So nothing else that she can provide any location information to the dispatcher. And then I'm thinking, ask the dispatcher. I said, hey, LAPD, please GPS track my location. I'm stopping in the middle of the freeway. I don't have any mile marker to tell you my location. And then the GPS, the dispatcher said probably something like, quote, maybe. We work hand in hand with Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. We do not have any GPS tracking devices. Unfortunately, we don't know where are you. So I really wish in the future that our LAPD officer, let's have a community education program. Let's try to educate the public that where are you in the freeway, when you are stuck in the middle of the freeway, how do you inform the dispatcher that how do you describe your precise location, because Los Angeles, California does not have a mile marker. Same as the other incident, viral video I saw is that the LAPD officer asking the Jason Reedy, have you stopped beating your wife yet? And that is also a viral video. Thinking about a chief, when a wife was being kidnapped, was being beat up in the small room, storage room, he cannot call LAPD. He cannot talk on the phone because once he make a sound, he's gonna get beat again. So we eventually need technology that someone call 911, we can track the phone, we can track the person, because not every victim are able to speak on the line. So that's something very important.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman.
Good morning, motherfuckers. There's new enforcement in California. It's called Trump 4547. And the reason behind that is because we're tired of scumbag politicians like the one in Cudahy by the name of Cynthia Gonzalez, who hates law enforcement, who hates federal enforcement, who hates civil immigration rights of due process. And we got another dumb bitch from El Monte, the same chola, asshole, dumbass, Jessica Acuna, who sat in a press conference with the black first mayor, Miss Ass the Carrot. As long as you have a carrot, she give you what you want, right, Jim? But it was Jim who knows that Donald Trump saved LAPD's ass, Carlos. Under 52.1, the Bain Act, Carlos. Dumbass, asshole. I'm referring to the Bain Act. Don't intimidate me and interrupting my topic.
You are off topic.
Fuck you. I'm talking about.
Move on. Move on. Move on.
Under the Brown Act, 42 SC 1983. The color of law. Don't fucking suppress me by intimidation.
Move on.
Yeah, well, what the chief said is that California fucking sucks because we have too many killings, too many burglaries, too many carjackings, too much fucking illegal vandalism, asshole.
Move
Too
on.
much.
Sir, you're off topic. Your public comment's going to be terminated.
Topic. Just
Get back on
repeating your name
topic or your
doesn't make it
public
on
comment will be
topic.
terminated.
May I continue in my 60 seconds of public comment, please, asshole?
Move on.
Okay. So all these donations that we're hearing about that are in a public record here indicate that you asshole, dumbass, cholo.
Off topic. Move on.
What?
Sir, this is your
off
first and
topic?
last warning.
Saying names doesn't make it on topic.
I am on. I'm talking
Not on
about.
topic.
I'm
Move
talking
on.
about the goddamn donations, cholo.
Move on.
Okay, I'm. What about the officer-involved shooting, asshole, jackass, moron? Am I on topic now?
You're off topic.
Sir, I'm ordering you out of the room.
Pardon me?
I'm ordering you out of the room. You don't understand English? I'm ordering you out of the room. I'm ordering you out of the room.
But I will leave because I had 18 seconds, you dirty fool. I will leave, Mr. SWAT.
Sergeant at Arms, please remove this gentleman from the room.
Strategic lawsuit against public partition. I'm leaving because you are such a racist asshole, idiot, moron, dumbass, jackass, piece of shit that we all here know because based on public comment, I state facts. God bless Donald Trump. Thank you, Pamela Bondi. Thank you, Bill O'Saley. Because when this criminal corruption of LA goes down, I'll be the first to say 42 USC 1983 politely. Fuck you, Django. God bless Trump.
Next,
Madam
we have
Secretary, please announce the next speaker.
Luis Cachua.
We'll have to reset his time. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Luis Cachua. I'm younger brother to Hugo Cachua. I'm representing my brother that was murdered on May 30th, 2024, because he has no voice. I'm here to make sure that we get justice for him. For every breath that I take, I'll never stop fighting till my brother gets justice in this case. We started a petition on May 30th after he was murdered, and we have close to 3,500 people that support us and have sided with us on what has happened in that occasion, that situation, the horrific act that Victor Corral took that night. One of the people that leaves a comment, which is very plenty of, close to 3,500 people on our petition, states, and I quote from her, Ileana Alvarenga, Cachua family needs justice. Victor Corral needs to be arrested. On duty, off duty, LA or Ontario PD. This man shot and killed an unarmed human being with a gun he was carrying on his personal time and his personal car on public streets. What is the DOJ saying about this? What is it taking so long to see that Victor Corral needs to be held responsible? Why was he on leave? Medical leave, personal leave, regardless, it does not matter. Why was medical leave, personal leave, doesn't matter. Corral is a danger to others and should not be allowed to be roaming around free. He is a danger to others and needs to be held accountable. He is not above the law, nor is he God. Has this dash cam video made it harder to prove otherwise? Come on, we need answers and justice. And this is a person that we don't have no idea who they are. These are just people that comment and sign our petition and help us for this long fight that we have ahead of us. Also stating for the case that Corral has fabricated and lied to defend himself. I don't know if he's taught that. The police department teaches them to say these things, which are crucial to what has happened in this oversight or interview of what happened with Corral, which was life was threatened. He thought he was gonna have bodily harm, and he identified himself to my brother, which he clearly never did. He states that Corral states that he told Hugo, I'm a LA police officer, and my brother violently attacked him. That's completely false. He also states that he was in danger of his life. He thought he was gonna die with a man that's unarmed, has no object in his hand, is completely have no criminal history, has nothing. He discriminated against my brother. And all he did was shoot my brother in cold blood, 3 shots. He didn't give him a warning. He didn't tell him that he had a weapon. He didn't identify himself. So I'm here regardless of what happens, that I'll always be here seeking truth, because I know if it was the opposite role, my brother would be arrested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Miramontes.
Good morning, everybody. I stand before you today to speak on behalf of Hugo Cachua. On April 15th, you guys had a closed meeting session regarding the incident that happened on May 30th. Now, according to this investigative report, this OIG report, there is a lawful in policy decision that was made, and no action is required. No further action is required. It's stated in black and white. Now, I want to speak facts, okay? You're going off of what this officer, so-called officer, is stating. He's giving you this interview, and he's telling you that my brother said, and I want this on public record, that my brother said he wasn't going back to prison. My brother has never been to prison. Why would an unarmed civilian claim they're not going back to prison and attack an officer? Now, I want this on record. My brother's son, who just graduated high school, has been 4 years in high school, ROP classes, to be a firefighter, to stand beside each and every one of you law enforcement officers. My brother is not a hateful man. He was unarmed. He has never been to prison. He has no criminal record. He is not on gang file. There is no rap sheet to back up what this officer is saying. This is facts, you guys. You guys ruled in his favor. I am begging you, I am asking you to reconsider this investigation. The DOJ has the case in their hand. And I pray to God, and if you guys are God-loving, faithful people, please know that if they rule, may God strike me now. This is unlawful. This is injustice. This officer, I know you guys stick to a blue code. I know you guys go in their favor time after time after time. I'm going to tell you what happened to Hugo Ernesto Cachua on May 30th was wrong. You cannot get in a fight and then pull a cop card. Nobody, no witnesses have said that he identified himself. Nobody, not even when they're coming out to render aid and help, did he say, I'm an officer, back up. You guys are trained to do certain things, to act in a certain manner, and he did not follow protocol. He's been off of 1.5 years, and he killed Hugo. Is he still really considered an officer? Please investigate this. Please consider what we're saying, because this is facts. Look into it. No criminal history. No criminal history.
Thank you.
Jonathan Foster.
We are at time. We will take 15 more minutes of public comment.
Jonathan Foster, the five-pointed star. 5 points star. Jesus is the five-pointed star. He fulfilled the Torah. It's 1 star point for the 5 books of the Torah. Thank God, Jesus. 4B. You can get on the docket to change this, but you can't change the shooting the mentally ill. How about 3B? Where's your cams? You guys need some cams. So on here, I wrote rogue officer. It's you know, there's a lot of rogue officers in the department. And I even wrote this way back here. There's a lot of people trying to make the department do good things. These rogue officers look like they're married and have done very good. You wouldn't know they were rogue officers. No, it's MOUs, the MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding. What a bunch of bullcrap that is. And this goes along with this commission. You know, we don't know who the next commissioner is. We don't know who this is, but already they're in trouble. They're already guilty of everything the commission has done wrong. We don't even know who this person is. And they will be asking these same questions that I heard for the last 6 years. They'll ask them again and waste this time. It's incompetence, but it's not intentional incompetence, right? So I suggested there should be 23 commissioners. So if one or two leave, like right now, there could be larger representation for the people and less error in judgment so that justice can be done. But nobody wants to make this 23 commissioners. Anthony Soul, the officer, is not a licensed physician, but they were giving him Narcan. And what happened is just like Officer Chauvin on top of George Floyd, but this was a community member. He was in red. You all watched the video, didn't you? And he was on top of him, and he kept thrusting down. Yo, look at me. Hello, hello, look at me. Hello, look at me. Hello, look at me. Hello, look at me. Hello, 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 look at me. They were thrusting. He was thrusting down like this on Soul. He's just a community member. And he had a compromised heart. So his arms were behind his back and he was shoving his heart into the concrete. He killed him. When the LAPD came by, he had a heartbeat and breathing, and then he dies, and it's blamed on the LAPD. The guy in red killed him. You have to go watch the video. More to say, but not enough time.
Thank you.
Ariana?
Hi, good morning. My name is Ariana. I am a healthcare worker here in Los Angeles, born and raised. This department is one of the most diverse in the country, and that should really mean something. We should be restoring faith, building trust, and working together for real public safety. Not public safety on fear, public safety on respect. Instead, peaceful protesters are being beaten, tear gassed, and silenced simply while holding signs or flags. The LAPD is spending millions of taxpayer dollars on overtime not to respond to violence, but seemingly to suppress voices that are demanding changes. This is not public service, it's public intimidation. The Constitution does not say only if it's before 10 p.m. Protests are not supposed to be convenient. They're supposed to be heard. And under California Civil Code 52.1, the Bain Act, we are legally allowed to resist unlawful interference with our rights. When over 3,000 lawsuits exist, it stops being a statistic and it starts being a statement. You can still choose differently. You could stand with the people and not against them. You can use your badge to protect and serve and protect the Constitution and not crush it. I believe in the LAPD, and I would love to see you guys stand with us and the community. History is watching, and so are we. Thank you so much for your time. I yield back.
Thank you.
Nayeli? Good morning. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to thank the men and women in uniform who took an oath to protect the peace and keep our community safe. No system is ever perfect. There is a little bad and every good. But for those of you who serve with honor, compassion, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I would also like to thank and express my gratitude to the civilians who hold the system accountable. Your vigilance, your courage, your commitment to justice are an essential part of checks and balances. And finally, I'd like to thank you, the police commissioner. You've been entrusted with a great responsibility, setting policies and overseeing the safety of our city. I cannot imagine how difficult your job must be. But at the end of the day, the responsibility is yours. And today I ask you to face that responsibility head on, because there is a growing threat to our security. We have a president and an administration that seem determined to dismantle the constitutional protections, divide communities, and benefit the few at the expense of the many. Armed men are arriving without notice, without warrants, without clear identification, detaining people whose only crime is the color of their skin and their desire to give their families a better life. This alone is a tragedy. But in tolerating this, we open the door for something more grave and heinous. What's to stop civilians, specifically pedophile, rapists, and racists, to gather their guns and play dress up? What happens when innocent families are torn apart, children left behind, orphaned American citizens abandoned? How is that making America great? I know some people won't care because it's not their child, it's not their father or their mother. Some people have hate in their hearts and it shows when they wear the red shirts. Others are driven by greed and it shows when they wave his name around. Some people follow blindly with no thought of their own and it shows when they wear that red cap. But I believe in this committee. I believe that you care about our city. So I ask you, what are you going to do? How are we going to do it? We've handed over the keys to our house, our arsenal, our money, our future to someone convicted of fraud because he promised us safety. And now he's appointing unqualified people, abusing power, and hurting our communities. So I ask you again, what are we going to do to take our power back? How do we protect our city? I understand our powers are limited. I understand you strive to respect the Constitution, but right now, the Constitution is under attack. Respect alone isn't enough. We need to defend it.
Thank you.
Megan?
Well, we heard it today from the fascist's mouth. He decides how to enforce the rules. Errol's king. I'm really appreciative of the citizens who are here today to offer, here for the first time to come and criticize the LAPD. And I really want to encourage you all to continue to attend so that you can see and hear for yourself that these kidnappings are not an anomaly of the function of the LAPD. They are part and parcel of the function of the LAPD. ICE and LAPD protect and serve the same people, and it's not you and me. I also encourage you to attend so you can see the special treatment that middle-class white men are given in this room. Commit to coming here for a year and see if you still believe in the LAPD. Come here for 6 months and let me know if you still believe in the police commission. I really mean that, and you will have friends here. Last Tuesday morning, this is what Michael was talking about. It was actually last Tuesday. It was during this meeting, less than a mile away. You guys responded to a call of a suspected kidnapping in progress. When you arrived, by your own statement, you found a half-handcuffed woman who ran to you because masked men refusing to identify themselves were trying to shove her into an unmarked vehicle. Her sister and her mother called you. That lady was just walking down the street when a 6-foot man in full armor and weapons with his face disguised charged her and grabbed her. What did you guys do? Did you protect and serve? You sure did. The kidnappers. LAPD separated the gathering crowd from the kidnapping victims so they couldn't tape and provided safe passage for those kidnappers to get away. But LAPD doesn't get involved in federal immigration operations, right? How can LAPD even say that that what those officers were doing was an immigration operation? This lady was later determined to be a citizen. Not that that means shit. What did the federal officers show you that gave them the authority to do this? A warrant? Did they show you identification? Or do they just have to say they're with ICE for you to get on your knees and lick their boots? Because that's what you seem to do. Or to quote Michael, sorry, they're all the same. To quote Jim, when you all asked him, you know, Teresa, you asked him for specifics on how they make that call, and his specific answer was by doing something that would give them a comfort. I don't know about you, but I'm satisfied. What business could they even claim that they had with that lady? She was released by immigration authorities, but she did get charged with assaulting a peace officer when she was defending herself from the large masked man who was trying to shove her into a car, just like anybody else would do. This meeting today was such a fucking joke. You guys look like bigger idiots day in and day out. I don't know how you sleep at night. I don't know what you're going to tell your kids. This is the legacy that you're leaving behind. Thanks.
Thank you.
Quinn? Quinn?
This week's agenda exposes that LAPD is set to get 12 new drones for your aerial arsenal. Some of these drones come from Flock Safety. I talk about Flock Safety literally every fucking week, but I'll say it again. Flock Safety uses ALPR technology, automatic license plate reader technology. They use gunshot tech, similar to ShotSpotter, and real-time crime center software. The capabilities of these drones include speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, flight times of 2.5 hours, 40 times zoom, thermal imaging, live video streaming, siren audible up to 800 feet. These drones will be utilized by police in whatever manner you decide. A reality whenever police have access to technology or weapons. LAPD has not named the 2 profiteers it's using for drone expansion, but based on the literal drones that you're getting, it's revealed that it's Flock Safety and Axon Enterprise. This comes as we learn about how LAPD has been searching Flock Safety databases of ALPRs scans on behalf of ICE as recently as May 2025, and how it frequently searches Flock license plate surveillance data with simply the justification of, quote, investigation. We've also talked about it before, and we've talked about how real-time crime centers and automatic license plate reader data is used in federal immigration enforcement to find, track, and abduct people. Flock Safety shares that data with LAPD. For example, you lease an ALPR camera, you lease a drone with an ALPR camera, you get the data from that camera. But key to note, Flock can broker data sharing of that information with ICE and DHS, which means the more cameras you lease, the more drones you get, the more you use LAPD dollars to build out immigration enforcement abilities. If it wasn't clear enough yet, let me say it really simple. You buy cameras used to stalk community members, data shared with ICE abducts people. Is that clear enough for you? Is that clear enough about how LAPD is aiding in federal immigration investigations? I feel like this week is simply a week of LAPD getting new toys to kill. You're seemingly getting an expansion and an extension for a $1 million grant from the federal government that was approved in 2022 in order to expand your body-worn video footaging. And body-worn video footage supposedly was used to improve police training. While heavily funded overall, more training for police never results in decreased policing against community members or more safety for community members. We saw this with Rick Linton, who has been trained in countless trainings, but we also saw him shoot multiple people in the groin. What about Hugo Ernesto Cachua when he was shot by Victor Corral? Police are trained to kill. Your trainings are designed to teach pigs to pull the trigger and then wipe the blood from the lens of their body-worn video cameras. What exactly did the video footage from Hugo's death do? And what exactly did the body cam footage from Linda Becerra Moran's murder do? When LAPD killed a trans woman after she called them for help and you caught it all on video, and the video shows you killing her, it shows you torturing her, and yet you still don't stop killing. No reform, no camera, nothing will ever end the inherently murderous nature of you fucking bloodthirsty pigs. Fuck you.
Grace?
Week after week, this commission proves itself not as a site of oversight, but as an extension of the LAPD's will to dominate, stalk, murder, and surveil. You rubber stamp technologies that expand the state's reach into our homes, our schools, our devices, and our lives. Today is no different. Let's start with the Stealth V covert trackers. These are tracking devices, stalking tools that LAPD wants to quietly attach to vehicles without notice to monitor our movement over time. They want $5K from the LAPD Foundation to purchase them. Let's be clear, this is not about violent crime, it's about saturating the everyday with surveillance. And while you pretend this is about public safety, we haven't forgotten that former Assistant Chief Alfred Labrada used similar devices, Apple AirTags, to stalk a romantic partner. He was under investigation for abuse of power and domestic violence, yet he was allowed to keep his badge. So when LAPD invokes the element of surprise, let's call it what it is, covert carceral violence promoted by your culture. And now drones, as mentioned already, today LAPD requests 12 more drones, all designated military equipment under AB 481. LAPD plans to deploy them to respond to calls for service, to surveil protests, investigate, which we know means whatever the department wants. These drones are not neutral tools. They are an extension of the surveillance infrastructure LAPD is building in partnership with Flock Safety and Axon, who are also enabling, like Gwen said, that automated license plate reader surveillance are enabling surveillance on behalf of ICE. And next, a $20K donation to the Community Safety Partnership Bureau under the guise of funding the Watt Skills Academy and Knicks Kids. One is a defunct nonprofit operated by an LAPD officer. The other is a football club created by cops. There is zero documentation about how this money will be used, just a vague claim that it is for community outreach. We know for a fact in Nickerson Gardens, 94.5% of CSP program funding goes to the salaries of the cops. Only 1.25% of that funding goes to community programs. That's not investment in community, it is investment in police legitimacy. It is propaganda dressed up as programming. These 4 agenda items are not disconnected. They're each part of a system designed to expand police power at every level. They enable a stalker state where the police do not simply respond to crime, but they're preemptively tracking, targeting, and containing. And as we've said before, this is surveillance masquerading as investigation, making suspicion scalable and criminalization frictionless. It is not about safety, it is about control. This is the architecture of the stalker state, one where every movement becomes data, every data point becomes suspicion, and every person becomes trackable across space and time. I yield the rest of my time.
Mateos? Mateos? Okay. Hamid Khan?
So I think it's also nice to see that we have some high school students over here as well, so they can get this civics lesson as we are taught that how we should engage. But as Megan was saying, this is supposedly a representative of us, a Citizens Oversight Commission. And you've heard about drones, but let's just go back in time to see how we got here and what this body has been doing. So in 2014, the Seattle Police Department gifted the LAPD 2 drones. And the reason the drones came to LA, because people in Seattle rejected them. People rose up in end of May of 2014. As soon as we found out at Stop LAPD Spying Coalition, people organized. We started this fight about drone-free LAPD, no drones LA. And yes, people fought back and people pushed back. So the drones never took off. The drones were under lock and key for 2.5 years until the summer of 2017. Then the LAPD came up again, and they started saying, well, we're going to do a community outreach. We're going to get emails. We're going to do surveys. We're going to do this, that, and the other. So they did a survey. They got, and as per their own story, they got over 1,600 responses, and out of which only 97 approved of the drones. That's less than 6% of the people of Los Angeles as per them. Then they came up with a policy. They said, okay, let's open up our emails. They created an email address. People emailed in. Guess what? Out of the over 1,100 emails, what they said publicly, only 6 approved of that, right? One of the commissioners at that time also said that this whole, and I quote, this whole process is asinine, using the word asinine. But they still approved the drones because Steve Sobroff, who was the president of the commission at that time, said, looks like Angelenos don't like drones, but I like them. This is the president of the police commission saying it's all documented, so they approved the drones. At that time, we said specifically in 2014 that this is all about mission creep. Mission creep is a concept and a practice and a thing in the military that what the initial mission is will expand over time, because what they are saying now is going to get much bigger. And that's exactly what they said in the beginning, that it's going to be for special circumstances, for bomb squads, for hostage situation, yada, yada, yada. 11 years later, what do we have? A massive expansion of drones, an air force that LAPD has along with its helicopters. And what are they going to do? Crowd control, traffic monitoring, warrant, just like, I mean, you're too young, but the old SWAT, if you've heard of that, strategic weapons and tactical training. That's exactly what they were until they went in delivering low-level drug offenses warrants, breaking people's home, asphyxiating little children with smoke bombs and all.
Thank you. Thank you. Your comment period has ended. Step away from the podium. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please announce the last speaker.
Michelle?
So LAPD is asking for an extension of a $1 million grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance to use its body-worn video footage to allegedly improve police training. This department's trainings and curriculum are performative attempts at appeasing the public with the story of reform. LAPD claims that if only it can integrate body camera footage into its trainings, if only its officers can examine case studies of this footage, if only they can have discussions together about this footage, then maybe LAPD will finally be on the right track to being a little bit less murderous towards the people it purportedly claims that it's been tasked with serving. In reality, integrating body camera footage into trainings is a reprehensible guise for neutralizing the violence that LAPD has always enacted to uphold terror, white supremacy, and settler colonialism in our city. In the past weeks, officers who've received trainings on de-escalation and making quote-unquote right choices have been the same ones shooting directly at community members, as our comrades have spoken to. Community members who are protesting ICE and police-aided abductions. And no amount of trainings will ever be sufficient to erase the violent function of this department. I want to break down just how harmful this grant extension really is. This move is used to expand the financial resources of the LAPD and further legitimize the presence of this department in our city, but also nationally. The grant is in direct collaboration with the federal government as a funder. Just another example of a long lineage that LAPD has had in its eagerness to collude and share information that goes directly back to federal agencies towards the shared goals of further targeting, stalking, and criminalizing our community members. And finally, I'm repulsed by the purpose of this grant to, quote, identify the best practices from this proposed training enhancement in order to replicate it as a nationwide standard in law enforcement training. The export of these disgusting logics of reform at a nationwide scale is something we should be firmly opposed to and actively dismantling. There are a number of other items on the usage of funds that betray this department's intentions of social control and neutralizing dissent. They have $5,000 set aside for an officer wellness day, while LAPD is responsible for actively subjecting our communities to chronic traumatization and grief from premature death, as folks have spoken to today. Another $20,000 to put cops in programs to allegedly indoctrinate our youth and Black community members in Watts, and another $5,000 put towards purchasing covert trackers because cops are afraid. They're afraid of community knowledge of their stalking. We demand the immediate end to all these forms of expanding the tools of control, violence, and legitimacy in your death-dealing police force.
Thank you. The commission will now take a 10-minute recess and resume at 11:10 for agenda item number 3. Thank you. Commission meeting will resume. We will now go to agenda item number 3, consent agenda items. Today we have agenda items A through J. I would like to pull B, and I'll go across the dais and see if there are any others. Vice President Shields? None from you. Commissioner Garcia?
None, thank you.
None from you. And Commissioner Sanchez Gordon? None from you. Okay, so we will pull agenda item number 3B. I'd like to move that we approve the recommendation for board action on items A through J except B. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Item 3B is the department's report relative to the 2022 body-worn camera policy, body-worn camera policy and implementation program. And I don't know who I have representing that one today. Okay, good. Great. Good morning. And if you'll just introduce yourselves, and then I have a question, and I'll open up the dais for other questions. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So, Thomas Tatro, the Director of Police Training and Education. Sergeant Kenneth Medea, Deputy Division.
Thank you for being here. So the request, if you wouldn't mind going to the section on purpose and schedule of activities for the proposed extension. And my question is about an item there in the matrix where it says, conduct assessments on the use of body-worn camera videos in academy training. And then the second line after that, you've given some months. You've given April through June of 25 and July through September 25. Then below that, you've got modified training as needed based on assessment results, and you've given 2 other periods during this calendar year. My question is, what are the elements of that assessment? And then once that assessment's completed, who determines the necessary training modifications in the following line that you have below?
So initially, training division would conduct those assessments with recruits, and then obviously those. Yes. There you go. And then those results would be given to Dr. Datro's unit, and then they would determine what kind of changes or adjustments may need to be done with our curriculum and so forth. And then the same group that was assessed in the academy would then be surveyed again once they complete the field training program as to the effectiveness of the academy training, particularly with the use of body-worn video during their academy training and how that was effective in helping them throughout their field training program period.
Okay, let me get in the weeds a little bit. So when we do the assessment, are we assessing the technology function of the device, the officers' use of the device?
There's a few components
Okay.
that we're assessing, but
Thank you.
overwhelmingly, it's the delivery of the training. That's more the focus. It's not necessarily how the officers respond to, but we found a method, or we found a product by which we can say, doing it this way is yielding good results. The officers, the recruits are absorbing the data. They're able to use them in scenarios. They're able to recall that information and utilize it.
So dare I say, if we come up with some novel way to change it, do we go back and retrain everyone else?
I don't know if we would retrain everyone else because we're sort of building this plane as it's flying with using the body worn. We're just now getting it. I wouldn't say we're just now, but we're starting to use it more and more in the academy. So those best practices would just get disseminated throughout the department.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I clarify? I think for example, what this is doing is using body-worn video to help the recruits better understand concepts you're already training. So for example, if there's a good example of officers actually out in the field that de-escalate a situation very well, they're watching a video of it happening in real time, kind of seeing what methods were used, and then the test and assessment is, was that meaningful for you when you were in the field do you recall back looking at that video? Is that kind of what the program is supposed to be?
I would agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good summary. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to know what those elements were, and are we changing this program along the way? And if we are we being consistent with people that are already in the field and have been trained perhaps differently?
Think of it as the recruits are getting the baseline. We're getting them just to a certain level to then take on their next component of training, which would be the field training portion of it. So we would only be looking at, are we changing or modifying the way we're delivering it to the recruits at this point? Just because they don't have a lot of scale for it. So it's more just getting them introduced and used to using body-worn and using these new techniques and ideas of de-escalation.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions from commissioners? Okay. Gentlemen, thank you. With that, I would like to move that we adopt the recommendation for board action on item 3B. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 4, the regular agenda items. We have a department's report relative to the UVisa overview. And good morning.
Good morning, President Stothers, Police Commissioners, Chief, Mr. Sibley, Mr. De La Guerra, and Mr. Berrigan. My name is Jay Mastic. I'm the commander of Detective Bureau. Thank you. I have with me Detective 3, Maria Sadanaga, also of Detective Bureau. She's the department's U and T visa coordinator. We're here this morning to provide information about an overview of the process of obtaining a U and T visa, provide an update on the department website, provide an update on the training we've provided to all of our area coordinators, as well as the status of a frequently asked questions document, a FAQ. And with that, I'm going to give the floor to Detective Sadanaga for a presentation.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. All right, so this report was prepared in response to a city council motion on March 26th, and it was in regarding our handling of the U-Visa certification requests. These certifications are a key immigration relief tool for undocumented individuals who are victims of certain serious crimes. The council had requested mainly 4 things, and I'll be going over our process for handling the U-Visa certifications, our data on certification requests received and granted since 2017, challenges victims face when seeking the certifications, and then how our department is educating the public and our department personnel. And just really briefly for those who aren't familiar, a refresher on what a U-Visa is. It is a federal form of immigration relief administered by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS. It's for undocumented individuals who have been victims of certain crimes such as domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, child abuse, murder, attempt murder, or felonious assault. And it provides temporary legal status, a work authorization, and a pathway to lawful permanent residency for those that have been helpful in the criminal investigation and prosecution. So that's the federal definition of it and the qualifications. For our LAPD U-Visa certification process, it's governed by a special order. The first one was published in 2008. It was revised in 2022, and then also a procedure was recently updated with a change in the law, which was Assembly Bill 1261 that went into effect January 1st, 2024, and all those attachments are included in our report. So each geographic area and many of our specialized areas each have a U-Visa coordinator, a primary and secondary, and we have each of those areas are in charge of handling U-Visa certifications. It goes to whoever handled the investigation. And really, our department needs to determine 3 things. Was the person a victim of a qualifying crime? Were they helpful Are they continuing to be helpful? Are they likely to be helpful in the investigation and prosecution if it goes that far? And did the incident occur in the city of Los Angeles so that LAPD investigated it? Certification requests can be submitted via mail, email, courier, or even in person to the station where the investigation happened. And if all these criteria are met, then LAPD fills out what we call the I-918 Supplement B, or I'll probably call it a Supplement B in the future. That's completed and signed, and the original is given to the applicant or their legal attorney if they qualify. If they do not qualify, then we do issue a denial letter, which is now required per state law, but we had done that before, and we give a specific reason and detail for why we are denying it, because there is a rebuttable presumption of helpfulness. And then the victims who want to appeal that denial, those are all seen by Detective Bureau, by me, and my two partners, so there's uniformity in looking at appeals and then possibly giving looking at appeals and possibly approving those. Just a little bit, there's a table you'll see in the report about our certifications, which we started reporting in 2017, again, based on state law. Since then, we've received over 18,000 certifications. In the last couple years, it's, I think, been about 2,500, 2,800 last year. We're looking at getting almost 3,000 certification requests this year. And overall, we certify about 80% of those, deny 19%, and like a small handful, maybe, about 18% of the denials end up being appealed. And I will say, just to give you some broader context, at the federal level, USCIS receives tens of thousands of requests a year. In the last couple of years, they've been getting more than 60,000 requests, but they cap it each year and only give 10,000 certifications. So with us receiving, like this year, almost 3,000, it's a large number of what may be given on a national level. And another thing on the federal level, just as of late 2023, there were over 200,000 pending U visa applications in this national backlog. So as a result, with LAPD being able to look at these in a timely manner and certify the requests, these victims and applicants are able to get that certification and stay here while they're waiting what could be several years for the USCIS to give an official certification. Some challenges that victims face and the education that we do. One thing is community awareness, whether it's the victims or just community overall knowing about this program and who qualifies. So to address this, we did create in 2022 a public webpage that gives the step-by-step guidance, frequently asked questions, all the U visa coordinators so they know who to contact. We have that out there. We've also been doing more education, community awareness, presentations, talking at legal advocacy events, just so people know that this exists and that our department, like what our process is, that we have the coordinators at every division. Another big challenge right now for victims is facing delays in accessing police reports. Only victims of specific crimes can get reports for free, and those they can get at the area of occurrence or one of our front desks, and that's domestic violence, sexual assault, elder abuse, stalking, and human trafficking. Everyone else has to go through Records and Identification Division and pay a fee to get a copy of their report, and this can take several months. And the Supplement B expires after 6 months, so if we've certified it at an area level, but they still haven't gotten their crime report to submit, then they have to come back and ask for a new certification. So it can take a while for those that don't receive the report right away. And I'll just add on there that under state law, victims are supposed to be getting a copy of their report within 7 days if they're requesting for a U visa application. And then lastly, our education amongst LAPD personnel. really it was those people that have had experience, the coordinators at the division, a few others that really knew about it. So we're increasing awareness within department personnel. We did address have a training in March of this year for all of our coordinators because there's been some turnover in the process. We had quite a few people, over 50, attend with the new coordinators and just bringing other people from the division to be educated on the process. We've drafted a training bulletin on UNT visas and are working on getting that published. It's been submitted for review and approval. And then because of additional questions that have been coming up right now, we are currently working on a frequently asked questions bulletin for officers, for frontline personnel that may be getting questions from the community and have no idea that we have this program within the department. So that's the overview of the report, and I just think, U-Visas are an important tool to support our victims, but also to help us, because it makes the victims feel comfortable in coming to report the crimes and stay cooperative throughout the investigation. So what we can do to educate and ensure this process is smooth is best.
Detective, thank you very much, and thank you both for the detailed information in this report. The only question I have, and I usually do, is I applaud your education and outreach and awareness efforts, but how many languages do we do that in?
Right
Or
now,
at least which languages? I'll say it that way for starters.
yeah, right now what is out published is English and Spanish.
Okay.
With the intent to get at least the other top tier, so that I believe it's 14 others, so the top main languages spoken. Sorry, I'm not being clear.
And are there verbal community presentations, community meetings, and things like that? Okay, and those are, I hope, being offered in the language of
Yes.
people in the room? Okay,
Those are done, whoever needs it, yeah.
thank you. I'll open the floor for additional questions. Vice President Shields.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the report and your presentation and prior presentations on these important tools. And I agree that the importance of U-Visas and just helping solve crimes and keeping our communities safe. Now, given the current climate, though, I want to make sure that the department isn't telling victims one way or the other whether they should or should not file or request this type of relief, because it's all in the hands of the federal government, right? We don't have any control once it is granted.
Correct. And so we do the community education to let people know, but it's up to a victim whether they would like to apply for it and when, because there is no time frame or statute of limitations on reporting it, so they can wait a few years. They can come in the day the crime happened, but we let them decide if and when they would like to apply.
And the department is only responding to a request of a victim, and they are only providing the information to the victim, not to the federal government.
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you. With regards to the delay in the police reports, Chief, is there a way to help prioritize these types of? I know that the records department is overwhelmed and has a big backlog but for these, in order to comply with state laws, is there a way to kind of try to move these ahead of the line so that they're able to be given to these victims within 7 days?
Yeah, I'll check and see what we can do with I don't know if you've already looked at that, Commander.
We have discussed it, Chief. So to not really run afoul with department policy on obtaining a report is what it is. While the investigator is reviewing the application and preparing that document to provide to the victim, they've got a copy of the report right in front of them. Those special categories that Marie had mentioned, we're going to hand them a copy of the report right there, and we're encouraging delivering up a copy in any case. So I don't want to run afoul with policy and obtaining it the appropriate way, but the investigator has already printed a copy and has it in front of them when they're completing that. If they were to just provide it to the victim, we would be supportive of that.
Wonderful, thank you. And if they have to go through more of the official channel, if we can have kind of like a fast lane to a certain extent of these types of requests as well. But thank you for that work.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Are there, just based on what you said, are there any conflicts with the official pathway and sort of the fast tracking that's required by the state?
With the copy of the crime report, sir? Uh, Not really. There's a way folks are, if you wanted a copy of a burglary report for your insurance, you put a request in through R&I, they process it, they deliver it back out. They're just shorthanded and there's a backlog in terms of that. But as I had mentioned, with the investigator having a copy right there, there's 5 certain special categories where the department's obligated to provide a free copy. But on those other categories, if they're going through all the time and trouble to fill out this document and they got a copy right in front of them, it's not that much trouble to just run a copy and hand it to the.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Yes, thank you so much for your. I found it very interesting because I know people on this type of visa, and I just didn't know what the process was. So, but I'm also happy to hear that you're doing your best efforts to expedite it and to get rid of those little bumps in the road that you realize are there, and making it more cumbersome for people to move forward. So I thank you for that. Regarding the challenges, you talked about some of the challenges that the victims face. Okay, so I think you covered that. One other thing, again, just to follow up on the commissioner's question regarding the current climate that we're in, and you did represent that you don't share any of that information that you acquire from the victim, undocumented person who has been subject to a category of crimes, that you don't share any of that information with the federal government. What are you doing? What is your part in assuring this victim, this very vulnerable victim, that is not going to happen? That you are not sharing this. And again, I'm asking this question because of the climate that we're in. What are you doing to, convince them that they can move forward in reporting this crime without fearing that this is a deep hole for me? I'm not going because they're going to work with INS and this, and then they'll deport me.
Right, correct. Well, part of what we fall back to is just our department's policy on immigration, and we don't ask, we don't talk to USCIS on this, but if they come to us for the U visa certification, I also explain our process. We only cooperate and speak to the victim or their legal representative. So any paperwork we complete goes back to them. We're not reaching out to USCIS. It's all up to the victim. So we've had some victims get the certification and hold on to it because they've decided to wait and apply, and it's been like a couple years, and they'll come back and say, okay, now we want to go forward and put our application into USCIS, so we'll do the certification again. But it's, again, about the education of it. Like, this is the process, and we as a department don't report any of this to USCIS. Any paperwork we fill out will stay in our database just in case further down the line. USCIS may have a question on someone's application and reach out. Usually those questions are on because the people signing the certification have to be recognized, so we have them fill out paperwork. But that's usually the contact I get from USCIS is in 2016, this supplement B was signed. This is the detective. Were they actually authorized to sign? But that's later down the field. So it's just letting the victim know that we're only on contact with them. This paperwork, they have it, and they keep the original, and they decide whether to apply.
I think you mentioned numbers, the 18,000 certification number and the amount of 2,800 last year, about, give or take, and the national total. I would be curious to find out what your numbers are starting from June to December. Again, in light of the current climate that we're in, to see if in fact your numbers continue to kind of show the same, result, about 28, about 3,000 this year, or if it's gone down because people are fearful of moving in that direction. And of course, that's one of the bedrocks of our policy here, that we want our community to not be in fear of approaching LAPD, and especially when they are victims of such horrendous crimes. So I would like something brought up at the end of the year on that number.
We can certainly report back, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, again, thank you for the detailed report. Really appreciate it. It's a very important issue, especially right now with regards to the climate that we're in, as the commissioners have mentioned. We don't have any other questions, so with that, I move that we approve the recommendation for board action. Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We will now move on to agenda item 4B, which is the department's report relative to the initiation of vehicle pursuits, and it's being renamed and revised, and the air support / tracking a pursuit also revised. And we have Chief Graham. Morning, sir. How are you?
I am well, sir. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Chief, Mr. Inspector General, Mr. Sibley, Carlos, Mr. De La Guerra. I have a brief presentation to talk about this policy change that has come before you. This is the second in our policy changes to make pursuits safer for officers and for the community, as well as more effective as a crime-fighting tool. This policy will change Volume 1, giving a better definition to the factors of initiating a pursuit, specifically to focus on a definition of the balance test and the application of the balance test in order to initiate a pursuit. More significantly, this will change Manual Volume 4, Section 205-15, as it regards to tracking. Tracking is a tactic that was adopted about 20 years ago in the department in order to make pursuits safer. And the overview of tracking is that once an airship is overhead, they will then announce to the incident commander, be that still the senior officer of the primary unit or a supervisor who has declared as the incident commander, that they are ready for tracking. And when the initial policy was developed, there were a list of crimes and circumstances where tracking was not deemed appropriate in the introduction of tracking. That changed about 10 years ago as research and experience has led the department to understand that tracking can be used in almost all circumstances in order to make, again, pursuits safer and more effective as apprehension tools. But one of the things that we've found out as working with Traffic Group, and by the way, credit to Traffic Group for all the work that went into this in coordination with Air Support Division and Training Division to develop this. But what we found out is that there were very specific instances where either officers in the field did not have the uptake of the change in policy and tended to divert back to their original understanding that, for instance, armed suspects should not be tracked, right? And so they would default to that and not accept tracking when the airship came overhead. There were also instances where a pursuit had not been initiated and the airship was overhead, but because the technical pursuit hadn't been initiated, confusion arose as to whether or not tracking could be initiated at that point. And so the policy makers at Traffic Group, we got together and discussed the change that's before you, which is to make tracking an opt-out instead of an opt-in action. So the major change in this policy is that once an airship is overhead, tracking shall be initiated. Now, just to remind you, when a pursuit goes into tracking mode, first, tracking mode is still in pursuit as regards to the California Vehicle Code. Secondly, the tactic is that ground units will remain at their code 3 response, lights and sirens, but the tactic is to get out of the line of sight of the suspect so that it would prompt the suspect to slow down or even stop and go to ground once they feel that they're no longer being chased by the police. The airship will continue to follow overhead and will take over the broadcast of that pursuit to ensure that the officers that were initially in pursuit are still in a position to apprehend the suspect if they stop, go to ground, and abandon the vehicle. And again, the purpose for this is to get the suspect to slow down, to get the suspect to stop, and making the pursuit safer overall. And also, it's to reduce the need for canceling pursuits because these pursuits are now safer. So the other things that this particular policy does is it clarifies the idea that that tracking is a valid tactic for all law enforcement situations. Now, granted, there will be, and I was discussing this with Training Bureau, we do have to take a look at instances where when it's clear that tracking has failed to change the suspect's behavior, and that suspect's is armed, or there is a set of circumstances where it would be in the best interest of the department to re-engage that pursuit to allow the public to know that this is occurring in the area. Because the lack of a black and white in the area, if it's not effective at reducing the suspect's dangerous behavior, could enhance the danger for the community. So that would have to be dealt with in recognition and training. It identifies the role or clarifies the roles of ground units, the watch commander, and the incident commander during tracking. And it also establishes the rules of re-engaging a pursuit and adds the necessity for supervisory approval in order to re-engage a pursuit in the situations that I just talked about. There was another order that was written in 2017 that established something called monitoring mode. And in monitoring mode, the incident commander or the watch commander deems that the pursuit is too dangerous, and they will cancel the pursuit altogether. But the airship will continue to monitor the suspect's progress without pursuing units being nearby. And that would be obviously dictated by circumstance. So this order will also add monitoring mode into the manual section for it to be applicable for department policy instead of the memorandum that it was originally done on. So just some facts about how effective tracking is. In 2024, there were 1,118 pursuits total in the city that Pursuit Review looked over. Of those, 30% of the pursuits that were tracked ended in a crash, as opposed to 33% of pursuits that were not tracked. So the slight safer as far as outcomes for crashes. 19% of tracked pursuits were canceled, as opposed to 26% of non-tracked pursuits. And why is this relevant? Because the ultimate goal of a pursuit is to apprehend the suspect. And so if the pursuits are safer because they're being tracked, there's less need to cancel them. And then my last statistic here is suspects were apprehended in tracked pursuits 74% of the time, as opposed to 51% of the time for non-tracked pursuits, which means that tracking is an effective tool to apprehend the suspect, which is the goal of police pursuits. So, with that, I ask for your consideration of this policy change, and I am open to questions.
Well, Chief, thank you again for coming back to us as we routinely do, particularly on this issue because it's been so challenging. We've had a number of accidents this year, so we're glad we're paying attention to this, and thank you for the update and the revision. I don't have any questions or comments. I open the floor for my fellow commissioners. Vice President Shields.
Thank you. I had a couple questions, and I'm supportive of the changes that you've articulated here today, but also wanted to know whether there's other efforts to continue to refine the policy, particularly, like I know that there are other departments that have some like limitations on the number of vehicles that can be involved in a police pursuit, absent certain levels of approval. Has there been any discussion about those types of limitations?
So that currently exists. The limitation to a LAPD pursuit is 2 plus a supervisor. The necessity of additional units is based upon the totality of the circumstances. So if a supervisor is asked to approve a pursuit intervention technique, such as the pit maneuver or a spike strip, then additional units will be requested because the minimum tactic for a pursuit intervention technique is 3 black and whites and a supervisor. If there are multiple suspects in the car, then the incident commander can request additional units be involved in the pursuit. And in fact, in our pursuit review process, we're very critical of officers that self-deploy into a pursuit package, taking into account that it is a little bit of managed chaos, and there might be some time to sort out who is the primary, the secondary, the tertiary unit. But once the direction is given that those positions have been established and all other units have to leave the pursuit, that policy is in place and rigorously enforced.
Okay, so this is just like part of the pursuit policy, not the entirety of the policy.
Yes, ma'am.
that's
This
before
is
us.
very specific about tracking, monitoring, and the use and the initiation of tracking at the arrival of the airship.
Perfect. And have we confirmed, so just so that I have some more assurances here, have we confirmed that the entirety of the policy, do we fit under the California Vehicle Code section that provides immunity? That, you know, it says if you have if your policy covers certain criteria and you're trained on it, you know, regularly, then there's no potential civil liability to the city for resulting.
Yes, ma'am. So in my opening comments, I made sure to indicate that when we are in tracking mode, we are still in pursuit. And so we are still following the suspect in an exigent circumstance with a red light and a siren, which are the qualifications that are necessary for qualified immunity under the Vehicle Code. So we're still in pursuit, so we would still be covered under qualified immunity.
Correct.
Or the affirmative defense matter.
And so there, yeah, but our whole policy covers all of the items that need to be covered under that statute for us to take advantage of that immunity statute. Is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And that's covered under the annual attestation that police officers have to complete for maintenance of their position.
Perfect. Thank you. That's very helpful. And have we? And I know the helicopters provide a very pivotal role in pursuits and definitely help keep things safer and potentially more successful pursuits. Have we looked at other types of GPS kind of remote tracking capabilities? And have you evaluated them and determined whether or not you think that they would be successful?
So if you'll excuse the pun, we're consistently in pursuit of technological innovations that will help us safely go about pursuits. We've looked at the introduction of the nets. We've looked at, I think we're currently looking at tracking devices. We have looked in the past in other tracking devices. It's just unfortunately that there's not a high level of accuracy in the air-delivered kinetic version of that piece. So we also, I think the last time, not the last time I was here, but a couple of times ago we had discussed drones. And the unfortunate part about the utilization of drones in these circumstances is available to civilian use, there isn't a level of battery capacity that would even come close to matching an airship's ability to stay with a pursuit on a sustained period of time. So, but utilizing potentially in the future drone technology to identify a driver that's in the midst of a pursuit so that we can discontinue the pursuit and apprehend that suspect later is something that we're also continuing to talk about and whether or not that technology is there.
Thank you. Those were my questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Thank you. Sort of fits into the question I wanted to ask. We talked about the drones and that whole issue last week, and we're going to talk about it again a little bit following your report. But my question was going to be, if you see the day when on the issue of tracking, instead of having, you know, what you call the airship, the helicopter, have a drone take the place of that airship. But then I hear you say that the time element is not conducive to to the drone. Is that what you were saying?
So, if I may, I've talked to a lot of municipalities that utilize drones and utilize drones quite effectively within their municipality, but none of them are 467 square miles. Right? And so, us keeping a pursuit, especially pursuit of a dangerous felonious suspect on an extended period of time, is what I believe precludes us from using the current quality of drones to maintain that presence over a pursuit. Now, there might be a day where we could start with a drone, if drones are available in the field for deployment, and then if it becomes an issue, an airship can be called in to replace that drone. Those are things that we can contemplate as we continue to move forward in the discussion of the utilization of that piece. I also know that there have been discussions in Public Safety Committee and Transportation Committee about the enhancement of traffic cameras throughout the city, which would also help in tracking and potentially identifying the driver of a vehicle so that, again, we can cancel that pursuit and apprehend them at a later time. Focusing our philosophy on the fact that the point of a police pursuit is not to chase a bad guy, it's to catch them. Right? And so anytime we can utilize technology to most effectively capitalize on that philosophy, I think that's a win for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So Chief, with that, if there are no other additional questions or comments, I move that we adopt the recommendation to approve, recommendation for board action and approve the department's report. Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to our final regular agenda item, Department's report relative to the procurement of Assembly Bill 481, equipment. Morning, Commander.
Good morning. Commander Brian Liam from Office of Operations, and I'm joined by Captain Anthony Espinosa from IMD. So as you know, the Office of Operations is launching a drone as a first responder pilot program to evaluate the feasibility and effectiveness of drones in supporting patrol in emergency operations. California Assembly Bill 41 categorizes drones as military equipment, but just to be clear, we're not getting drones from the military. We're not working with the military. But any acquisition, testing, or use of drones by the department, as per AB 41, requires your approval. To prevent delays, OO has submitted a list of 12 drones currently used by leading vendors in the industry. We may not need to evaluate all of them, but submitting the full list provides the flexibility necessary to identify the most suitable platform to serve the community's needs. It's important to note that all the drone usage will adhere strictly to department policy. None of the proposed systems are equipped with or will be equipped with or used for any of the prohibited functions such as facial recognition or used as a weapon, etc. All the drone usage, including the flight activity inventory, will be tracked and documented for annual reporting and evaluation purposes to both you and FAA as required by law. But again, the department is not purchasing any drones at this time. All equipment will be provided by third-party vendors for a testing and evaluation period. So we're seeking your approval for the use, not the procurement of drones. So with that, I can answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Commander. It seems like we've come a long way, so thank everyone for their patience, especially Vice President Shields, who worked very closely with the working group on this. So I'll open the floor for questions or comments. Vice President Shields.
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon?
I don't have any questions.
Outstanding. So with that, I move that we adopt the recommendation for board action and approve the department's report. Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're going to continue agenda item 5, election of officers, to the July 29th Board of Police Commissioners meeting. And with that, I move to adjourn today's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.